Just 1 minute ago, palace lawyers stepped forward with a revelation that could rewrite royal history forever, a secret estate belonging to Diana, hidden for decades, untouched, undisclosed. And now, after years of silence, its sole heir has been named. Not William, not Harry, but Catherine. The princess who married into the monarchy has just inherited something no one even knew existed, and the consequences are already unfolding behind closed palace doors. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The announcement was not delivered from a balcony or broadcast through an official statement polished for public comfort. It was spoken in private chambers, behind heavy doors, in a room thick with disbelief. Senior legal representatives confirmed what had never appeared in probate records, what had never surfaced in investigative archives, what had never even been whispered in serious royal briefings. Diana had maintained a separate estate. Not a modest reserve, not an overlooked account, a structured, shielded, deliberately concealed financial and legal fortress built beyond the known narrative of her life. For decades, the monarchy believed every asset had been catalogued, every jewel counted, every document sealed in orderly succession. They were wrong. The lawyers revealed that this estate had been insulated through layers of trusts and private agreements, intentionally kept outside the reach of standard disclosure. It did not pass automatically through royal channels. It did not merge quietly into institutional holdings. It waited, dormant, protected by clauses designed to activate only under specific circumstances. And those circumstances, it seems, have just been triggered. The timing was no accident. Those present described the disclosure as precise, almost surgical, unveiled at a moment when the monarchy is already navigating delicate transitions of image, authority, and generational power. Someone chose now. Inside palace leadership, reactions were immediate and fractured. Some responded with stunned silence, calculating implications before emotion could surface. Others felt something closer to betrayal, not because of Catherine's name, but because the existence of this estate suggests that Diana never fully trusted the system that surrounded her. And that realization cuts deeper than any financial shift. If she built this in secret, she built it with intention. If she concealed it, she did so with purpose. And then came the name that altered the emotional gravity of the room. Catherine, not as spouse, not as future queen by marriage, but as sole heir. The wording was unambiguous. The designation, personal. Diana's private estate, untouched by public record, was entrusted entirely to the woman who stepped into her former title decades later. The symbolism is impossible to ignore. This was not inheritance by bloodline, it was inheritance by choice. Yet what unsettles the palace most is not the money, it is the possibility that the estate holds more than wealth. Letters, instructions, reflections never meant for immediate release, a final message waiting patiently for the right moment. And if that is true, then this revelation is not simply about assets, it is about intention, foresight, and perhaps even unfinished truth. But to understand why this hidden inheritance changes everything, we must go back to the woman who built it in silence, and why she never told anyone. For decades, the world believed Diana's story had been fully told. Her charities, her jewels, her will, everything documented, everything accounted for. But behind the public narrative, Diana was quietly building something of her own, something separate from royal control, something protected by legal firewalls and offshore structures. And the most haunting question isn't how she built it, it's why she kept it hidden from the very institution that defined her life. Long before this latest revelation shattered the calm of palace corridors, Diana had already learned a painful lesson about power. She understood that visibility could be both a gift and a weapon. Every appearance she made was analyzed, every gesture interpreted, every financial move monitored. And somewhere in the middle of that suffocating scrutiny, she began constructing a parallel safeguard, one that did not depend on approval, permission, or oversight. Offshore trusts were quietly established. Legal instruments were sealed with layers of confidentiality clauses. Names were replaced with coded references. The structure was deliberate, almost surgical in its design, ensuring that nothing would automatically fold into royal systems upon her passing. Those closest to her later recalled moments when her tone shifted during private conversations. She spoke of protecting the future with an intensity that suggested foresight rather than fear. Protecting from what? From whom? She never fully explained, but she had grown wary of certain financial handlers within palace circles, uneasy about how influence could redirect intention. That unease hardened into strategy. If the institution could claim everything by tradition, then she would create something tradition could not touch. This hidden estate was not rebellion. It was insulation. A silent declaration that independence did not have to be loud to be powerful. By structuring the estate beyond automatic royal absorption, Diana ensured that its control would never default to the crown, simply by virtue of lineage. It would wait for a chosen moment. It wouldn't respond only to preset conditions. And in doing so, she created something profoundly symbolic, wealth that existed beyond the monarchy's gravitational pull. The emotional weight of that decision cannot be ignored. For a woman whose life was intertwined with the crown, building an estate outside its reach was more than financial planning, it was personal autonomy carved into legal permanence. It hinted at a belief that the monarchy, as steady as it appeared, might one day fracture under pressure. Perhaps she foresaw tensions brewing beneath polite smiles. Perhaps she sensed generational shifts that would test unity. Whatever she saw, she prepared quietly. What makes this revelation even more unsettling is the subtle precision embedded in the documents. The estate was not structured as a general inheritance to be divided equally or distributed by default succession. It was tailored, focused, as though Diana had already identified the person who would need it most, not for luxury, but for leverage, not for status, but for protection. The trusts did not name heirs publicly, yet the language implied intentional selection. Every clause narrowed possibility rather than expanding it. And now, as newly unsealed documents confirm, that careful narrowing was never accidental. It was directional. Diana was not building for the immediate aftermath of her life. She was building for a moment decades ahead, a moment when the monarchy would stand at a crossroads, and one woman would quietly carry both expectation and vulnerability on her shoulders. And that someone, according to newly unsealed documents, was not a son, but a woman Diana once quietly admired from afar. When the lawyers uttered Catherine's name, the silence in the room reportedly lasted several seconds too long. Because this wasn't tradition. It wasn't predictable. It wasn't even familial in the conventional sense. Diana, naming Catherine, years before Catherine formally became the Princess of Wales, suggests foresight so precise, it borders on prophetic. But what did Diana see in her that she didn't entrust to her own sons? The legal wording left no room for reinterpretation. Catherine was not mentioned as spouse, not referenced indirectly through William. She was identified clearly, individually, deliberately. The phrasing did not allow the estate to default through marriage or succession. It placed ownership squarely in her hands, as though Diana had reached forward in time and pointed. That specificity is what stunned the room. This was not sentimental inheritance. It was strategic designation. For years, whispers circulated that Diana had quietly observed the young woman who would one day carry her former title. Not in rivalry, not in comparison, but in recognition. Catherine's composure, under relentless scrutiny, her restraint in moments designed to provoke, her ability to endure without public fracture, these were qualities Diana had once struggled to protect within herself. Perhaps she saw in Catherine the steadiness she had been denied. Perhaps she believed that strength could coexist with empathy if properly shielded. That belief may have shaped everything. Bypassing direct bloodline expectation is no small gesture inside a monarchy built on lineage. William, her eldest son, carries her legacy in memory and position. Yet Diana did not choose him for this estate. That does not signal rejection, it signals differentiation. A mother can trust her son with love and still entrust a daughter-in-law with protection. The estate, structured beyond royal absorption, suggests that Diana understood something deeply personal. Power flows differently through women who marry into the system than through those born within it. Catherine stands at that intersection, inside the institution, yet not formed by it. For William, the implications are layered and heavy. Publicly, he must project unity. Privately, he must reconcile the idea that his mother anticipated Catherine's role with such clarity. It places weight on his marriage, not just as partnership, but as legacy alignment. This inheritance binds Catherine to Diana's unfinished narrative in a way that transcends titles. It is not just financial, it is symbolic authority, quietly conferred. And within that symbolism lies a deeper message. Diana did not merely pass on assets, she passed on responsibility. By naming Catherine, she effectively endorsed her as guardian of something beyond wealth. The bequest reads like affirmation, almost like an unspoken blessing. You will carry what I could not complete. That message reverberates far beyond palace accounting. It touches succession, perception, even the emotional architecture of the crown itself. What makes this even more charged is the suggestion that the estate may contain written directives, instructions, perhaps guidance never voiced aloud. If Diana anticipated Catherine's eventual position, then she may have prepared more than financial protection. She may have prepared counsel. And if that counsel exists, its influence could ripple through generations. Yet as Catherine's name echoed through the legal chamber, another question loomed: what exactly does this estate contain? This wasn't just money. Insiders describe vaults, sealed correspondence, private recordings, and property holdings outside traditional royal channels. If true, Diana's hidden estate is less a financial portfolio and more a time capsule, a preserved truth waiting decades to be revealed. And buried within it may be the final words of a woman who understood the monarchy better than anyone ever realized. The financial scope alone is staggering, far beyond the inheritance publicly as associated with her name. This estate reportedly contains diversified assets, shielded through layered trusts, international holdings, and investment vehicles designed to grow quietly over time. It was not a passive reserve left to chance. It was curated, expanded, protected. While the world assumed her chapter had closed, this parallel legacy was compounding in silence, untouched by palace accountants and immune to ceremonial oversight. But wealth, as startling as it may be, is only the surface. What truly unsettles those who have glimpsed the documents are the personal elements woven into the estate's structure. Handwritten letters, some addressed cryptically to the future, were reportedly sealed within private archives. Not addressed to a single individual by name, but framed as guidance, almost like emotional coordinates for navigating storms she knew too well. If these letters now belong to Catherine, they are more than keepsakes. They are testimony. And testimony carries weight. Even more revealing are accounts of unpublished reflections on palace life, private writings that never passed through media filters or royal editors, thoughts captured in raw honesty, observations about power, isolation, manipulation, and resilience. These reflections, insiders claim, are not bitter, but they are unvarnished. They speak of survival within a machine that rarely slows for vulnerability. If made public, or even privately absorbed, they could influence how future decisions are made within the monarchy's inner circle. Then there are the properties, acquisitions made quietly, routed through discrete entities, shielded from automatic royal absorption. Homes and land holdings that exist outside the Crown Estate's gravitational pull. These are not mere investments. They represent independence carved into geography. Physical spaces beyond institutional reach. In Catherine's hands, such holdings could become sanctuaries or leverage. Perhaps most haunting are the alleged recordings, private audio statements preserved under strict conditions. Words spoken without the burden of immediate consequence. Words meant to be heard only when specific criteria were met. If those recordings exist, they may contain clarity Diana was never permitted to express publicly. And if Catherine now holds access to them, she carries something far more potent than currency. She carries unfiltered truth. The estate's legal architecture deepens the intrigue. Clauses embedded within its framework reportedly activate upon disclosure, ensuring that no external authority can reassign, dilute, or quietly integrate its contents into broader royal structures. The design suggests anticipation of resistance. It suggests foresight. Diana did not simply store wealth, she safeguarded intention. And within that intention lies the possibility of guidance that could subtly shape governance itself. If the documents include recommendations, cautions, or strategic counsel, then this inheritance becomes transformative. It shifts from personal bequest to quiet influence, from memory to mechanism. Catherine would not merely inherit assets, she would inherit perspective. A roadmap drawn by someone who had walked the sharpest edges of royal expectation and survived long enough to understand its vulnerabilities. And that is why the contents matter so profoundly. Because this estate is not frozen in the past, it is designed to operate in the present. It breathes through conditions, it speaks through clauses, it waits for action. As whispers of these contents spread through palace corridors, emotions began to surface, and not all of them were celebratory. For William and Harry, Diana's memory has always been sacred, but learning that their mother's most guarded legacy was entrusted to someone else, however beloved, introduces a complexity no one was prepared for. Was this a slight, a strategic safeguard, or a sign that Diana saw a future they didn't? Inside palace walls, silence speaks louder than statements. William's reaction, according to those present, was measured, calm on the surface, reflective beneath it. He did not object. He did not challenge the legality. Instead, he absorbed it. And that absorption may have been the most telling response of all, because this inheritance does not strip him of love or legacy, it reframes it. It suggests that his mother separated emotional inheritance from structural influence, that she trusted her son with her memory, but entrusted Catherine with something operational. That distinction is heavy. It demands introspection rather than outrage. Harry's response is said to have been quieter, more distant. The revelation reached him through layers of formality, not intimacy. For him, Diana's memory has long been intertwined with personal pain and public battle. Learning that a secret estate existed, one he was never aware of, may reopen questions he thought were settled. Did she foresee division? Did she prepare for turbulence? Or did she simply believe that the burden of this particular legacy would be too sharp for her sons to carry? These are not easy reflections. They are emotional fault lines. The tension here is not purely personal. It is institutional. Diana's decision shifts the center of gravity within the family structure. It places Catherine in possession of assets and possibly directives that exist outside traditional succession patterns. That creates a dynamic where personal relationships intersect with constitutional optics. William must navigate not only his feelings as a son, but his position as future king. Harry must reconcile legacy with distance. And Catherine stands in the middle, fully aware that any misstep could be misread as ambition rather than obligation. How she handles this moment may define the next chapter. Those close to her say she approached the news with restraint, emphasizing unity rather than triumph. No celebration, no display, just quiet acknowledgement. Because she understands that this inheritance is not a prize, it is pressure. The symbolic weight far outweighs the monetary value. It binds her to Diana's unfinished narrative in a way that invites scrutiny from every direction. Private meetings reportedly followed the disclosure almost immediately. Conversations behind closed doors, clarifications, assurances, attempts to reinforce solidarity before speculation could widen cracks. The family knows that perception is power. If unity fractures, the monarchy weakens. If cohesion holds, the narrative stabilizes. But beneath official composure, emotions remained layered and unresolved. This estate, now attached to Catherine's name, carries more than wealth. It carries expectation. It raises silent questions about foresight and trust. And it forces the princes to confront a reality that is both honoring and unsettling at once. But the princes weren't the only ones unsettled. The wider royal establishment had reasons to worry as well. In royal circles, money is never just money, it's influence, control, autonomy. And Diana's undisclosed estate may have just handed Catherine a level of independence unprecedented for a future queen. Suddenly, financial freedom intersects with institutional power, and when legacy meets authority, the balance inside the monarchy can tilt in ways that ripple far beyond palace gates. For generations, the monarchy has functioned on carefully managed interdependence. Funding flows through established channels. Influence is calibrated. Even senior royals operate within financial frameworks that ensure alignment with institutional priorities. But this estate exists outside that architecture. It does not require approval. It does not depend on negotiated budgets. It answers only to its legal structure, and now, to Catherine. That reality quietly reduces leverage that palace advisors traditionally wield. Independence changes conversations. It alters posture. It reshapes who influences whom. Catherine's philanthropic platform, already significant, now stands on an entirely different foundation. With private capital shielded from internal redistribution, she is no longer constrained by cautious allocation debates or symbolic funding limits. She can initiate, expand, or redirect projects with a freedom that future queens have rarely possessed. That freedom is not loud. It does not require proclamation, but it shifts the center of gravity. Because when a royal figure operates with independent resources, the institution must adapt rather than direct. Inside the household, advisory dynamics are already recalibrating. Courtiers who once viewed Catherine as a future consort, guided by established protocols, must now recognize her as a stakeholder with independent authority. That changes tone. It changes strategy. Even subtle shifts: who briefs her first, who seeks her input, who aligns early signal awareness that she is no longer solely positioned within the hierarchy, but partially outside its financial grip. There are deeper concerns as well. Precedent matters in monarchy. If a Princess of Wales can inherit and control assets beyond institutional reach, what does that signal for future generations? Does it inspire autonomy? Does it create parallel power centers? Constitutional optics may not shift overnight, but perception shapes stability. Some within the establishment worry that this inheritance introduces a quiet duality: crown authority on one side, personal legacy authority on the other. Reactions within internal factions vary. Traditionalists reportedly express discomfort, seeing potential imbalance. Modernists interpret it as evolution, proof that the monarchy can coexist with individual empowerment. Both perspectives acknowledge one truth: Catherine's symbolic authority has expanded. She now carries not only her title and public approval, but also Diana's deliberate endorsement in tangible form. That endorsement amplifies her presence without a single speech delivered. And, perhaps most consequential, is the long-term implication. Financial independence today may translate into structural influence tomorrow. Decisions made with private backing can ripple into institutional reform. Initiate. Ives funded independently can shift public expectation. Over time, that creates subtle but undeniable transformation. Diana may have understood this. She may have recognized that influence sustained over decades does not always require confrontation. Sometimes it requires insulation. The estate, therefore, is more than inheritance. It is positioning. It is preparation. It quietly equips Catherine with tools that operate beyond ceremonial limits. And while the palace measures risk and recalculates alignment, the broader monarchy feels a subtle shift beneath its polished surface. Yet beneath the political calculations lies something even more powerful: the emotional message Diana may have intended all along. Perhaps this was never about exclusion. Perhaps it was about protection. Diana understood vulnerability, scrutiny, and the weight of expectation. In Catherine, she may have seen not just a successor, but a guardian, someone capable of carrying forward compassion without being consumed by the machine. And if that was her intention, then this inheritance becomes less controversial and more revolutionary. Diana's life was defined not only by glamour and tragedy, but by empathy. It was her compassion that reshaped how the monarchy connected with ordinary people. She reached where protocol hesitated. She felt where tradition remained distant. That emotional openness made her powerful and exposed. If this estate represents anything beyond wealth, it represents the preservation of that compassion in safer hands. It suggests that Diana wanted her emotional legacy to survive without being eroded by the same pressures that once overwhelmed her. Catherine's public journey mirrors that tension in subtle ways. She has endured scrutiny with restraint, absorbed criticism without retaliation, and maintained composure through storms that could have fractured lesser resolve. Where Diana burned brightly and publicly, Catherine has chosen steadiness. Where Diana challenged visibly, Catherine adapts quietly. These differences do not diminish either woman. They reveal evolution, and perhaps Diana recognized that evolution before anyone else did. By entrusting this estate to Catherine, Diana may have been shielding future heirs indirectly. Influence passed through a daughter-in-law rather than a son creates insulation. It allows guidance to flow without burdening the direct line of succession. William remains heir by birth, but Catherine becomes heir to perspective. That separation protects both. It ensures that the emotional blueprint Diana left behind can guide the monarchy without placing weight directly on the throne itself. This reframes the inheritance entirely. It is not a deviation from bloodline loyalty. It is a statement about values. Legacy is not always defined by genetics. Sometimes it is defined by alignment. Diana's defining principle was compassion, balanced with courage. If she believed Catherine embodied that balance, then naming her sole heir becomes an endorsement not of status, but of character, a quiet vote of confidence written into legal permanence. And within that quiet endorsement lies something profound. It signals belief in Catherine's future queenship long before coronations are discussed. It suggests trust not only in her marriage, but in her judgment, in her resilience, in her ability to protect her children from the harshest edges of royal expectation. Diana knew what it meant to feel unguarded inside gilded walls. If this estate empowers Catherine to shape a different environment for the next generation, then its purpose transcends personal inheritance. The emotional continuity between these two princesses of Wales is no accident. One redefined public connection through vulnerability. The other refines it through stability. Together they form a narrative arc that stretches across decades. Diana's spirit did not vanish, it recalibrated. It waited. And now, through this estate, it finds new expression in the woman who carries her former title. Yet even as this interpretation softens the shock and reframes the decision as protection rather than preference, another layer waits beneath the surface. Because legacies crafted with such precision rarely end with symbolism alone. They often contain instructions, safeguards, conditions designed to activate when the emotional message has been understood. But just as the emotional dust begins to settle, legal experts reveal one final twist buried within the documents. Deep within the legal text lies a clause activated only upon disclosure, a condition, a stipulation, a trigger that could reshape royal strategy for decades to come. According to insiders, Diana anticipated resistance and built safeguards into her secret estate. And if this clause unfolds as described, the monarchy may not just absorb this revelation, it may be forced to evolve because of it. The activation itself was never automatic. It required transparency. The estate would not fully transfer, nor would its deeper contents unlock, until public acknowledgement occurred. That detail changes everything. Diana did not want this legacy whispered behind curtains or quietly folded into palace accounts. She required light. By tying activation to disclosure, she ensured that the truth of its existence could not be buried without consequence. Silence would stall it. Exposure would empower it. Even more striking are the protections embedded within the framework. The estate cannot be reassigned by institutional decree. It cannot be diluted through negotiated compromise. No senior advisor, no council, no ceremonial authority can redirect its assets under traditional royal prerogative. The legal insulation is airtight. Diana anticipated pressure, perhaps even pushback, and constructed barriers strong enough to withstand it. This was not sentimentality. It was foresight, fortified by law. There are indications that philanthropic mandates may be attached as well. If certain thresholds are met, Portions of the estate must fund initiatives aligned with defined values, mental health advocacy, youth protection, humanitarian outreach. Not optional, not symbolic. Required. That possibility elevates the estate from inheritance to instrument. It ensures that Diana's compassion remains operational rather than ornamental. And it places Catherine in a position not merely of ownership, but of stewardship under defined purpose. The timeline adds another layer of intrigue. Assets are not released in a single transfer, but phased strategically over years, possibly even decades. This slow release prevents sudden consolidation and maintains continuity. It also guarantees sustained influence. Each phase reinforces Catherine's autonomy incrementally, ensuring that the estate's impact is not fleeting, but embedded over time. Diana did not design a single dramatic shift, she designed endurance. Perhaps most consequential is the explicit legal separation from Crown estate integration. The documents reportedly forbid automatic absorption into state-linked holdings, even upon coronation or structural transition. That firewall preserves independence across changing titles. Whether Catherine becomes queen or remains princess, the estate remains distinct. This separation challenges traditional optics. It creates a parallel sphere of influence, operating beside, not within, institutional finance. And then there are the implications for succession perception. If Catherine wields independent resources, fortified by Diana's explicit endorsement, her authority grows organically rather than ceremonially. Public trust, already strong, may deepen. Future heirs may benefit from an environment shaped not only by protocol, but by protected guidance. The monarchy, accustomed to centralized control, now faces a subtly decentralized force, quiet but enduring. All of this suggests intention layered upon intention. Diana did not simply plan for inheritance, she planned for resistance, evolution, and legacy management across generations. She anticipated the need for resilience beyond her lifetime, and she embedded that resilience into the legal DNA of her estate. What appears at first to be a financial surprise reveals itself as structural architecture. A design meant to outlast personalities and headlines. A design that quietly adjusts the monarchy's balance without direct confrontation. And as the implications settle into history, one undeniable truth emerges: this wasn't an accident. It was a blueprint. Diana may no longer walk palace corridors, but today, her presence feels stronger than ever. A hidden estate, a chosen heir, a message delivered decades later with precision. The monarchy thrives on continuity, but sometimes continuity requires disruption. And in naming Catherine as sole heir, Diana may have reshaped not just a family's fortune, but the emotional architecture of the crown itself. What began as a legal disclosure has unfolded into something far larger than paperwork. It has become a symbol of evolution. For centuries, royal power has flowed through bloodlines, coronations, and carefully managed transitions. Yet this moment suggests that influence can also travel through intention. Diana's estate does not sit within the expected channels of succession, but alongside them, quietly reinforcing a future she may have envisioned long before it arrived. In doing so, she introduced a new kind of continuity, one defined not by rigid inheritance, but by chosen alignment. Erin now stands at a unique intersection. She carries Diana's former title, her public expectations, and now, her private trust. That convergence reshapes her role from participant in the monarchy's story to active architect of its next chapter. She becomes a bridge, not just between generations, but between philosophies. Diana's empathy, once perceived as vulnerability, merges with Catherine's measured resilience. Together, those qualities create a steadier, more adaptive model of royal presence. It is not loud, it does not declare revolution, but it signals refinement. Public perception is already shifting in real time. The revelation reframes Catherine's position from supportive consort to entrusted custodian of legacy. That trust, written into legal permanence, resonates beyond palace walls. It reinforces the idea that authority is not only granted by title, but earned through character. And in a monarchy where symbolism carries immense weight, this endorsement speaks volumes without a single speech delivered. Inside the institution, influence recalibrates subtly. No dramatic confrontations, no public disputes, just a quiet awareness that the balance has adjusted. Diana's foresight, embedded in clauses and conditions, now intersects with Catherine's present responsibilities. The estate becomes more than an asset, it becomes a stabilizing force. It allows Catherine to operate with independence while remaining aligned with the Crown's continuity. That duality is powerful. It strengthens without threatening. It evolves without fracturing. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this inheritance is how it transcends formal succession lines. Diana's legacy was never confined to hierarchy. It lived in compassion, connection, and courage. By naming Catherine, she ensured that those values would not fade into nostalgia. They would be operational, active, embedded in decisions, shaping the next generation of heirs. It is a reminder that inheritance is not merely about property, it is about preservation of purpose. Yet even now, questions linger. What remains sealed? What reflections, instructions, or safeguards have yet to surface? The mystery endures, adding depth to an already transformative revelation. Diana understood timing. She understood impact. And if this estate has taught us anything, it is that her influence did not end, it waited. The monarchy will continue, titles will shift, ceremonies will unfold. But beneath the pageantry, something fundamental has changed. A hidden blueprint has emerged. A legacy once silent now speaks. And in that voice, the past and future converge, because in the end, the most powerful inheritance isn't wealth, it's trust. And Diana just revealed who she trusted most. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.